soon, and you will be able
I'm
to
here.
lead.
Just one moment, please. It's
Yes.
going to pick up our echoes in YouTube. Just give me one moment. It's already connected.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are happy to have each and every one of you join us tonight for the second conversation on racism. This is a very interesting topic we started last week, and it has been amazing. We had some amazing speakers last week, and we're just continuing the conversation this week. And we hope that by the time we finish from here, we will acquire more and more knowledge on this topic of racism and how to, to combat it. Now, I want to remind everybody that this workshop is fully funded by the government of Canada, and we want to acknowledge the government of Canada for all the support that they've given to the Canada Virtuous Women. We are sincerely grateful. We thank the government for supporting our community in this awareness workshop. And so before we go ahead, we would need to acknowledge the land in which we are in. A lot of us are in Ottawa, so we will do the land acknowledgement for Ottawa. I will give it to the president of CAVIWO to do the land acknowledgement. Over to you, Madam President.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our platform. Welcome for another session of knowledge, sharing our stories, and enriching ourselves. I will read the land acknowledgement for Ottawa as Ma Ijan has said. Ottawa is built on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose people have stewarded this land for millennia. Their presence, culture, and contributions continue to nurture this land and its people. We also extend our recognition to all the First Nations, the Inuit, the Métis people, whose rich histories, traditions, and enduring resilience are deeply woven into the fabric of this country. We honor their past and present contributions, and as we gather today, we do so in the spirit of mutual respect, learning, and unity. Thank you. We have acknowledged the land on which we are seated, and we can now proceed with the program of the day. Take it over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam President. And so we are going to start with the first speaker for tonight, which is going to be our very own Lily Mofo, a woman that has many hats on her. She wears a lot of hats, but I'm going to just introduce her tonight as a very passionate social worker and a financial broker. She is a powerhouse, very knowledgeable in what she does, and one of the neatest women I've seen in, in the face of the earth. So I'm not going to say much about her. I'll just let her speak and you would understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give the floor to Lily to take us through understanding racism, its manifestation, and how we can combat racism. Over to you, Lily.
Thank you so much, Martel. Thank you so much, our guests, our CAVIWO ladies. It's always an honor to be in front of the camera and speaking with you. I feel honored, and here with me is my beautiful daughter, Kila Zoe, who is going to be presenting with me as well. So bear with us. This is going to be exciting. I would like to share my screen, and at a certain point, I will stop for Kayla to say something. So as we all know, we're here today for, we're united for equity in light of empowering Black Canadians and building an inclusive community. So as you all heard, I'm a social worker by profession, so I'm going to speak from that perspective because this is going to be a reflection of my profession. I will just highlight a few definitions for us to have an understanding of why we are here and what we're discussing, and especially I want to focus on equity and equality. So, what do we understand as social equity? This is the fair and impartial distribution of resources, opportunities, and rights, and the aim of this is to eliminate systemic disparities, which are based on race, based on gender, on income, or ability. And when we talk about ability, we want to highlight the fact that some of us are able-bodied and some of us are disabled. So I want us to expand our understanding a little bit to include these people, because even among us, we have able-bodied and disabled people among us. So the next thing I want to talk about is social equality. So this is a state in which all individuals within a society have the rights and status and access to opportunities regardless of their background, their race, their gender, and their socioeconomic status. And this is where we want our discussion to lean towards this. So I want you to keep this in mind because we want to lean towards social equality. But what is social inequality? It is the opposite, social equity, which is the unequal distribution of resources, opportunities, okay, and rewards such as wealth, education, education, healthcare, among different members or groups within a society. Most of us have had lived experiences with that. This is not new to us. Okay, sorry. So for us to talk about this, we need to understand how can we empower ourselves so that we overcome this obstacle. Empowerment is the authority or power given to someone to do something, simply put. If I tell you that, listen, these are the keys to my house, get into this house, live in it, but make sure that no one is able to come into this house while I'm away. I've empowered you within that sphere, within that environment, to lead and to own and to be the Lord for that moment. The process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's right. And again, because I said that my profession is a social worker, I always want to link this to social issues. Social empowerment is the process of enhancing the status, the autonomy, and self-confidence of marginalized individuals or groups. How do we do this? We enable them to actively participate in society and challenge the systemic exclusion. Sometimes we find ourselves in places where we don't understand why some people have more privileges and others do not. And in those cases, for some of us that are coming from a long way from Africa, we want to accept this as the status quo. But tonight, our conversation will be geared towards encouraging you and myself to know that we can challenge the system at every level. Now, what is racism? This is one of the most powerful social categories for making and marking human difference. That is called race. In most cases, when we talk about racism, it has to do with difference. Why are you Black? Why am I white? Why is she brown? And all of that. But it's a complex social construct with profound human consequences. And again, we are here today because some of us have suffered those consequences. Not only have we done that, if you were here during the last conversation, you understand that some of us have also participated, actively participated in making sure that this difference exists. And at this point, I'm going to stop and give it over for Kayla to share a lived experience. So you bear with Kayla because she's not feeling very well, but she was determined to be part of this. Come on, Kayla.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I want to share a moment that made me reflect on how racism can sometimes appear in subtle ways. In class, one day, a student made a joke about someone's background. It was one of those comments people often label as just humor. Most of the class laughed, and even the person it was directed at laughed along. So at first, it didn't seem like a big deal. But for me, that moment stood out. It made me think about how certain jokes become so normalized that we don't always question them. Even though nobody seemed visibly hurt, it made me wonder whether constantly hearing comments like that changes how people feel over time. That experience helped me realize that racism isn't always obvious or intentional. Sometimes it shows up in small, casual ways that are easy to ignore. It made me more aware of how words can shape the environment around us, even when they're framed as jokes. This is to help us to be conscious and speak up.
Thank you so much, Kayla.
Wow.
So as we have heard Kayla said, sometimes we normalize racism. We accommodate it. We say, like, what harm would come out of it? We're not conscious. We don't engage in critical conversations. We're not intentional about challenging the system and educating people who are not like us or who see us as different. And there's something that she said is that it made her think how certain jokes become so normal that we don't question them. We laugh along, and yet we're hurting inside. So we don't say anything. We're afraid to be judged. We're afraid to be criticized. We're afraid to be called names by our friends, our colleagues. We're ruled by fear, and we don't seize the opportunity to step back and ask questions. Why would you make a joke like this? If you were in my place, how would you receive something like this? Or if this was someone that you were related to, will you be comfortable saying stuff like this? And again, I don't want us to come from a point where we're judging people. Like I said, keep in mind, what's most essential is that we need to use this as a platform, as an opportunity to educate. That is our primary goal. Because when we fail to educate, when we normalize, when we approach it with hate, when we approach it with disdain, contempt, whatever you want to call it, then we have failed, and we as well are contributing to this narrative. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is that I want to focus on some of our Black heroes. We know of Martin Luther King, we're just from celebrating the Black history. We know of Harriet Tubman, we know of Rosa Parks. But did we know that these people, among others, saw a difference? They seized an opportunity. They refused to accept the situation that was at hand. And they chose to put their life at risk to challenge the status quo. And that is why you and I can enjoy the freedom that we have in Canada today. At least that is some of the reasons. Imagine Rosa Parks sitting on that bus, knowing that she could be burnt alive, she could be hanged, she could be killed, but she chose to say, I will sit on this bus because I belong. Problem is, we're so overcome with fear that we don't want to imagine what is possible. That these people, they were not our trailblazers for nothing. They did what they did to make you and I believe that if we all do our part, we will not be talking about racism. if we all take a stand and do something, we don't have to do it on the same level or at the same threshold. We're here today because a woman believed that God called her to help widows. But do you see what we are doing here tonight? Does this have anything to do with helping the vulnerable, the widows and orphans? This is what it means when you take a leap of faith, when you say no to the status quo if it's uncomfortable, when you say something. And again, we know the story of Harriet Tubman. She didn't do one trip. She went back and forth, and she conquered the territory because she rescued the life of so many slaves. You and I, for most of us that are here, we're from the country Cameroon. We're so afraid to even go back home to visit our loved ones because there's war in that country. So if you're thinking that what Harriet Tubman did, reflect for a second. How comfortable are you just flying to Cameroon and taking a car to travel anywhere in the Southwest and in the Northwest province? That is the environment this woman found herself in, but she refused to listen to the voices that told her it was not possible. She refused to listen to the white slave owners who told her that because the color of your skin is different, you do not qualify for freedom. So today, I want you to listen. I want you to understand that these people walked and they talked as if they were backed by heaven, and we carry that same power, creation. But are we walking in this power? Moses was a man. And for those of us who are wondering why I choose Moses, did you know that the children of Israel suffered in slavery for 400 years before they had someone to rescue them? That is racism. 400 years. And the Egyptians never knew that someone could stand up for them. But because Moses was backed by heaven, like you and I today, God spoke, he answered the call, and he took action. So again, I ask you, are we walking in this power? And the next person I want to talk about is Deborah. We knew that in those days there were not women prophetess. Yes, there was Miriam, but there were few. She's one of those that believe that power is equally given to you and to me. And when we believe, we have no excuses. Now, before I go to the critical reflections, I want to share some lived experiences that I had. Okay, so this is what I plan to do. Okay, I want us to be a little bit active. I've spoken for a little bit. I will ask some questions, and please put a 1 in the chat if this pertains to you. So the first question I want to ask is, how many of us were excited to travel to Canada? Before Bush, we put it that way, maybe it puts things in perspective. Oh, so I see 9 people and 58 of us here. Okay. I just need all of us to participate because this is how we're going to have meaning of what we're saying here tonight. So, okay, that's a good number. Next one I want to ask is, how many of us asked the question, how many of us asked the question, what am I to expect in Canada? As I'm leaving my home country to go to Canada, what do I expect to meet there? Did anybody have here ask themselves that question? I want you to put it 2 this time around. If you ever reflected, what would I be? What can I expect?
Yes, to say the 5 million for update.
Somebody needs to mute themselves, please. Sorry, I can't. All right, go ahead, Lily. Thankfully, I found the person. Sorry. Can everyone just stay muted, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Lily. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one I want to ask is, because I know that when I see 34, it means many people did not ask the question, what will I expect to have or to meet or to experience in Canada? And for those of us that are here, we have loved ones. You have a friend, you have a sister, you have a brother, you have a relative, someone that you know. How many of us took the time to educate them about what to expect in Canada? What challenges will you face? These are some of the pros and cons of you coming to a country like this. Now, I want you to put a 3 in the chat. Okay. The reason I ask these questions is because you and I are part of this problem we're facing. Some of us came ahead, and I'm guilty as charged. I have my sister here on the platform. I did not take the time to tell my sister, sis, this is what you expect. And when you meet a situation like this is what you can do. In my lived experiences, in my profession, I did not take the time to prepare my sister about what to expect in a country like Canada. And that is why the weight is a lot, the weight is heavy on us. Because when we come and we're not prepared and we meet these situations, we don't know how to address them. We don't know how to react to them. So I'm giving you and I a responsibility. It starts with us. We are part of the problem, but we can become part of the solution. Okay? We part of the solution. Now, like I said before I conclude, I would like to share 2 experiences that I had. So when I came I would say when I came to Gatineau, I used to live in Montreal. So I came here and I started working as I was taking care of people with developmental disabilities. It's been a while, sorry, I forgot the job title. But so when I was assigned in this house where you have 6 individuals, and I was new. Okay, the expectation was that the older staff would train me, make me become familiar with that environment, make me become familiar with the work ethics and everything. But guess what happened? When I come in, I know I'm working for God. I dedicate myself and my time, and I execute the work that is ahead of me as expected. And like our mama has said this, I am someone I love clean. Sometimes I will go be above and beyond. I will even go in their bathrooms, clean it, just make sure it's sparkling, everything. So this Sunday, when I came in, I met this lady. I had never met her before. And we were talking. And normally I do not talk about my spouse. I don't talk about my husband at work. I keep my family away from everybody. Unless it's really necessary, I do not talk about my family. Now, on this day, for some reason, it was a Sunday. I went to church. I had a good time. I came back. I was engaging. We were talking. Little did I know that somebody was not happy with the information that she got. And so she went. She told the manager that I'm not a good worker. In fact, everything was negative. And yet, throughout this work shift, she sat behind the computer, doing what God alone knows. On the phone, just giving me instructions, and I was there executing them. So I got an email from my manager at that location, and she said, I'm sorry, I'll have to terminate you at this house. I got a complaint, and it was not a favorable one. We value the life of we value the lives of our clients, and because of this, you can no longer work here. In fact, it was so vague, I can't even explain to you because I was still looking for where the problem was and I couldn't find it. So I took a deep breath and then I waited until I was home because I was at another location. And then I wrote back to her and I said, thank you for your email. It's always an honor to serve other people. So my understanding is that a colleague told you something about me. You did not come back to me to find out what happened, number one. Number two, there is an expectation in this place. And that is why today I want to tell you, wherever you work, read the binders they give to you. Please do not take them and put away. Those are some of the things that when we neglect and tomorrow we say we are being discriminated against, sometimes we are contributing to it. So make sure you free yourself from this. Because I had read those binders, I knew that you give a staff the first warning, you give them the second warning, and then if they don't change, you terminate. And I listed all of that. I said, this is my understanding. So are you now telling me that it's okay for a colleague to misrepresent another colleague and the manager to just go ahead and fire them without having a chance to talk with them? I said, if you're okay with this conclusion, no problem. It was an honor to serve you. I wish you the very best with the clients and with your staff. Immediately she wrote back, oh, Lily, I'm so sorry. Can we meet? I would like to talk with you. And I said, yes, definitely. I gave her my availability. We sat, we talked, and she said what the person said. And I told her what I did at that workplace. I did not only tell her, I showed her what I had done. And I said, when you have a new staff, do you help them when they're struggling, or do you just take them away without supporting them? How do you do it? I need to understand. And she said, no, you're right. If you're struggling with something, before they complain, they have to make sure that they show you. I said, secondly, the same people who complain are the ones that sit in the office and do nothing and only give instructions, and we do them because we are the new staff. Is that how we work? She said, no. Now, can you give me an example of who did what? I said, excuse me, ma'am. You called me here for me. I will talk about me. If you need to know more about what the other staff are doing, you need to talk to them individually. I am not here to bash another human being. Right there and then, this woman wept in front of me. She said, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done. And she said, Lily, I am so sorry. Please, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome. The virtue that you have shared, that I've gotten from you today, I've not gotten from anybody. She said, in your place, the people, when I have situations like this, they just spill everything. Pastor Adolf did this on Friday. Adeline Ijang did this on Saturday. Auntie Judy did this on Sunday. Auntie Cons did, they would just spill everything out. I said, to me, that is not valuable work ethics. We're here to support each other, but the environment that we create around us is what will carry us through. So if you had created that environment, this is your opportunity to take a step back. Always make sure you speak to the other staff, get their perspective before you draw any conclusion. And then I said, well, I appreciate the fact that you've offered for me to stay. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. But before God and man, I knew I was not coming back to that place. So when I left, I went back home. I wrote her a nice email and I said, listen, I appreciate the fact that you listened to me today. I enjoyed the conversation. And more importantly, that you understood where I was coming from and you validated my point. It meant a lot to me. I wish you the best moving forward because I'm not comfortable coming back to this place. And she told me, if you ever need any reference, don't hesitate. Write to me and I'll give you a good one. So this is how God works in mysterious ways. I went to another location and she came there because she had a managerial meeting with other managers and the manager at that location. And then when she was coming in, she saw me. And then she was like, oh my God, does she work here? And the manager was like, who? Lily? Yes. Do you know her? Oh my God. She was an amazing worker. And I like, oh no, my manager said she's fantastic. She's the best. I'm not going to lie. And she said, I know she was an amazing person and I let her go because of my foolishness. So what am I saying? I'm not here to project I'm not here to project the fact that an amazing person. I'm here to say that when you know who you are in Christ, number one, when you strive for excellence, you don't fight racism with hate. Imagine if I had written to this woman and told her, oh, you're racist, you're not a good manager, this is how people discriminate on Black people. And I kept rambling. Do you think I would have had this opportunity to educate this woman? No. And that is why I said, this is an opportunity for us to express to these people, to others, who we really are. If you miss it and you let your emotions take the best of you, please know that it is not the right thing to do. And the second thing, still in this same capacity. So I was taking care of, I was supposed to take care of the shopping of the individuals that I was responsible for. And normally when they buy toilet paper, they go to these normal grocery stores and they buy toilet paper that doesn't last long. And when you look at the budget of these individuals, they have to keep buying these things, whereas it doesn't last long and they waste money. And some of them had no parents. They only lived on the little stipend that the government provided for them. So I took upon myself and went to Costco. I got a big batch of toilet paper that could last them a longer time. And in buying that toilet paper, I bought one for myself. Now, this was wrong, okay? I'm not here to justify what I did. It was wrong because you're not supposed to use work hours to do your own personal grocery. One of my colleagues who was waiting for an opportunity, like the other lady, reported me to the manager. The manager wrote a quarrel letter and said I needed to sign it. I said, okay, can I take the letter and read it so that I understand everything you've written? She said, yes. When I took that letter and I got in my car, I put it under my car seat and I drove home. 2 days passed and she called, Lily, you've not signed this letter. I said, Gloria, I need to talk with you. Can we meet? And she said, yes. I said, listen, when I came to this location, you assigned 2 people to train me. Was that right? She said, yes. I said, okay. When they trained me, they did grocery when they were doing grocery for individuals. Now, I'm going to sign this letter, but if they get the same letter, then I'm going to sign it because I learned from them. That was the end of it. I did not sign that letter and she never brought it up. What am I saying? So I'm going back to my action steps here. Question every received truth. How do we receive certain ideas as true? Just because someone gives me a letter, does that make me liable to signing it? Why are we so fast, so afraid? If I don't sign it, I will lose my job. Like I said, go back to our heroes. Rosa Parks. If I don't sit at the back seat, I will lose my life. Today, Black people are going all over in the buses because of her. Okay? So, ask yourself, what are the evidence that supports this truth? If somebody says because you're from Africa, you are not educated, you don't measure up, is that true? Why is it true? Is it just true because they said it's true? Have you reflected on it and said, why is this really true? And what can I do about it? So tonight, like I said, I want us to educate, to advocate, and to empower. Use every opportunity you qualify as racial discrimination to educate, to advocate, and to empower. Because when we accept the responsibility to consciously use our skills, okay, and whole being as an instrument for social change, when we engage in actions for improving the social conditions of marginalized people, we are going to change the narrative. So in conclusion, every discrimination provides a unique opportunity to be informed, to inform and to be informed. So take it and use it. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Lily. Thank you. We appreciate you. That was very interesting two stories that you ended up with, because these are things that have happened to us many times. And I remember my very last job. I said, no, I'm not just going to leave this job, even though I had made up my mind that I was leaving, but I said I will not leave with a bad name. Okay, I said I will not leave with a bad name. And they sent me a letter because of a one-sided story. And this time around, I was ready because, again, my job was backed by a union. I could have sued them, but you needed to see the way the director talked to me. After they sent me that letter to sign, I said I would not sign because it was so derogatory. I have that letter. I've said it in our meeting. I have that letter. I will use it in future to teach other people. I quickly forwarded it because I knew that she will withdraw the letter. I quickly forwarded it to my personal email and I kept it. It was so terrible, the things that she wrote there, and it was on a performance review. And I cried. I had to go out from the office for a walk. I'm like, this is not me. And somebody cannot describe me like this. And then I asked that, do you have a moment? I need to see you. I went to our office. I carried my laptop. Good enough. I had all my evidence. And it was because I was a trainer. So by the time we were supposed to train, I went on vacation. And then the team that I'm supposed to train now has to suffer. But I had asked before booking that time for vacation. The previous manager that was fired had given me that vacation, said I'm okay to take a vacation at that time. So I booked my, always as I travel out, it's always for conference. I had booked my conference. So by the time that they knew that I was on vacation, when we go live, they wanted to stop that. I said, no, I already booked my conference. I cannot stop the conference. So I went. Now this team has to suffer. But the team had a supervisor. So I had to give all the material, prepared all the training material, sent it to that supervisor through an email. Then the supervisor takes the glory and says that she's the one that did all the thing, and said I did not leave them anything. The whole team was talking about me. My name was all over the place when I came back. So it was doing the performance review. She wrote those derogatory remarks about me. And I went to her office. I started showing all the emails with the documents that I sent. She says, oh my God, she started apologizing. I said, but normally you should have asked me. You just had a story one-sided. There's a danger in a one-sided story. You did not, but you just went ahead and drew a conclusion about me. And she withdrew quickly, said she withdrew in front of me, and she typed another letter, cleared that one, this, and she did a new one and sent to me. That was better. So, and then I told myself that if I did not fight, some other Black folks would go through the same thing. Because I hear many of them in that office grumbling, they're saying things that are happening to them, this kind of discriminations that people just hear stories. And I chose to fight. And I chose that even though my days here are numbered, I just have a couple of weeks to leave because my contract had ended. But I'm not going to succumb to this. So it's a good thing for us to fight when you sense that discrimination. So I like the way you ended. This thing was so beautiful. I'm going to give it over to Nafisatu. I'm not sure how much she picked, but I'll give it to her to summarize for the French colleagues or French friends and family, or all our guests that are here that are French speaking. And I would like for everyone to just throw in the chat where you are logging in from. You can throw that in the chat. We do have a survey. Mama B will put up the survey at some point in time, maybe when the second speaker is speaking. But I will give a chance to Nafisatu to give us a short summary in French. Please, Nafisatu, please take it away.
Merci, thank you so much. Bonsoir à tout le monde. Good evening, everyone. Merci beaucoup, Madame Lily et Kaela. Donc, elle nous a entretenu aujourd'hui en ce qui concerne l'équité sociale et l'inéquité sociale aussi. Et l'un des points sur lesquels elle s'est appuyée, c'est au niveau de la responsabilisation qui consiste à que lorsque quelqu'un te donne l'autorité et le pouvoir de pouvoir faire quelque chose. Et lorsqu'elle a défini l'équité, elle a parlé de l'impartialité dans la distribution des ressources, des opportunités et des droits. Donc maintenant, lorsqu'elle a défini c'était quoi le racisme, elle a dit c'est une construction sociale complexe avec des conséquences humaines. Et dans ce qu'elle a présenté, Kaela aussi a exprimé comment est-ce que le racisme peut se présenter comme des blagues ou des petits commentaires innocents, mais à la fin de la journée, la personne est blessée, même si elle sourit à l'extérieur. Et de là, nous avons compris que ce n'est pas OK si c'est que nous ne nous sentons pas bien. Et chaque critique chaque critique ou chaque situation dans laquelle nous rencontrons le racisme est une opportunité de pouvoir éduquer. Elle nous a rappelé les héros noirs comme Martin Luther King, Harriet Coleman, qui se sont sacrifiés. Ils étaient déterminés à voir que les choses changent malgré les menaces sur leur vie. La réflexion critique nous ramenait donc maintenant à nous dire que nous faisons partie du problème, mais nous pouvons décider ce soir de faire plutôt partie de la solution. Et elle a noté 3 points principaux que je vais terminer avec. Elle a dit, tu dois connaître qui tu es, tu dois connaître tes droits, tu dois te battre à être excellent et tu dois répondre avec connaissance, sagesse et amour. Parce que toute opportunité chaque fois que nous rencontrons une discrimination, c'est une opportunité pour pouvoir informer, c'est une opportunité pour pouvoir éduquer et c'est une opportunité pour pouvoir changer les choses. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Nafi. Thank you so much. That was powerful. She caught it. I didn't know she was gonna grab everything. She caught it. Thank you, Nafi. That was really great. Thank you, thank you. One other thing that I picked when Lily was speaking was the fact that we don't read the fine prints on things. We don't read the fine prints. They give you a contract, you just sign without reading. I think that was one of those questions you should have asked for us to throw throw it in the chat. I bet you I would have said that I would have been guilty of that. But when I started working at the bank, I noticed that if you don't read the disclosure before signing a credit card, you are in for trouble. By the time you see you are signing for insurance on a credit card that you did not know that there was insurance on it and you're paying without knowing and all of those things, you would weep after you've spent so much money and you've lost so much money. So it is always a good thing. And you're free to ask those people that before I sign, I need to take this document home and read because they present to you a document that is like 10 pages. They know that nobody wants to sit in the office there or sit there and begin to read them. You just go sign here, sign here, sign here, and you sign. No, you have the right to say, let me take this home and read it. I will sign it, I'll bring it back. You read the fine print and have your questions. Like I'm a financial broker too. In my doing business with people, I've only had one customer that actually took the time to read every document and then highlighted it and say, let's have a meeting again and start asking questions and questions about this, about this. That client sat down and read everything, took it for days. So many of us don't do that. If we do that, we will save ourselves a lot of trouble and we get some answers before we ever get into something. So thank you so much. Thank you, Lily. There was just a lot that you said, and we're grateful. We're so grateful for the knowledge that you shared tonight from the perspective of a social worker. All right. So thank you. We're going to go on to the second speaker for tonight. If you have questions, please just write your questions down. And once we're done, we're going to have enough time for question and answers for tonight. And again, we will have a survey in the chat, so look out for it when it comes up. I think we have a present for the first 3 or 4, is it 3 people? Yeah, the first 3 people who answer that survey. So let's do this. So tonight I'm gonna introduce to you our second speaker, Pastor Adolphe Ebua Diange. I'm trying to not pronounce the name wrongly before I get penalized for it. He is a teacher and doing a PhD in the University of Ottawa. He does lots of things besides the fact that he's a man of God. So tonight he's going to be sharing some stuff with us, and he also works with the police. So I am going to hand over to him to take us through the different things that he has had to do in Canada, the different experiences that he's had. He's also been in Korea, so he might have lots of stories to tell us tonight. Thank you so much. Pastor Adolphe, please take it away. You're muted. Please unmute.
Thanks so very much, Madel. I truly appreciate this opportunity to be with you guys here tonight. And I have taken some time to prepare, and I want to applaud Mali, Lily, for that wonderful presentation. And I just want to say thank you. And all what you discuss is extremely relevant and reminds me of the facts and advices I usually give to our own Black folks who are working or who get job. I tell them, by the time you get a job, know you are fired.
That's a good one.
By the time you get a job. Now, I want to say that everyone who is listening, you'll get a lot of revelation tonight. We don't have time to go through all, but just know that God is going to inspire you tonight. By the time you have a job, know you are fired. And you're fired because, one, they want to see that your credibility is built. And so, by the time you get a job, write a new resume. Make sure within the first 6 months of that job, your resume has been built up with new experiences or acquisitions. And you will be the one to tell them, I am about to go. And they will decide to say, no, don't go, and we'll renegotiate. So it's really important for us to get this information because, as we all know, racism it's not something which you can say that it doesn't exist. It does exist. But I want us to just uh, know, as the scripture says in the book of Proverbs 4:17 says, wisdom is a principal thing. Wisdom is a principal thing, and says, therefore, get wisdom. And with all the getting, get understanding. Get understanding. And let me just say this here in the perspective. I teach sciences. I will talk in the area of teaching. And I also have many experiences. I've lived in different countries. In South Korea, I've been in other countries in Asia. I've been in Canada. Racism exists. But let me tell you, as a child of God, you can actually overcome that without any problem because you belong in the kingdom of God. And we have come to encourage because, as Mali said, is education. And the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And I want us to know that we are beyond that. And that is why I want to applaud Madel for building and for leading, and the two adults who stand to be examples of this greatness. Madel already introduced me. I'm a teacher by profession, but I hold a master's degree in biomedical engineering, master's in geopolitics. Quebec government gives me that as political science. I have a master's in education and a master's in leadership. I'm a pastor, I'm not a dummy. I'm completing my PhD and I have a biochemistry degree, of course, bachelor's in education. Now, when we moved into this country, it's a country of outstanding opportunities. But when you are limited in understanding how the system works, you will be worked out by the system. And that is why racism, as we all know, can really be systematized because it's a system. And for you to overcome it, you must get some information about the system. So Mama Lily has given a lot of stuff there. You know, when I speak with authority because I know where I belong. I know where I belong. If you want to really be free from racism, then we must understand the area where Ma has already discussed. I'm not going to elaborate about equity. And there are so many things that pertain there. But this is where I want to focus here. Now, this is a map or a chart. It's a figure that I designed. And if you look at this figure here, the three quarters of this figure, of this, is like a graph, four sides. So it's a quadrant. There is a quadrant, this line right here, downward. You have two important words that you can locate yourself in if you're not very careful. One is exclusion. Exclusion. So you exist somewhere, but you are excluded. And the other word is invisible exclusion. So you are excluded invisibly. One is like complete exclusion. And then you have another word that says inclusion. So when you go above, you have inclusion. But even though you are included, you have invisible inclusion. You have just one section of the quadrants whereby that is where we have equity. Now, I'm saying it because the Canadian government is, and I want to thank the Canadian government for sponsoring this program. It's a country that is respecting in the highest level as one of the #1 country that respect multiculturalism. However, it is our responsibility to understand how these things work. And that is why before we immigrate, we are supposed to know we are going to a country that has a lot of skilled people, and you must understand how the games work. So you have, in my research, which I will be defending soon, this is just like a little portion that we talked about education, because I'm talking the perspective of education. But education can be standardized. And most people fall in the area to learn things that are standard. But that is an archaic form of education. And if you get into a standard method, you're gone. Then you have what we call authentic. And when somebody gives you authentic education, you think it's authentic. But that is just authentic. It is extremely limiting. Then you have an area which I want us to understand. When you look into that graph, the line above, that is the greatest of where we ought to be. And that is why this organization is great. Giving us into the point where we have a sustainable knowledge without limitation through democratic education. So I will skip because many things Lee has spoken, but yet, as we discussed, I went through CAVIWO website to look at very important things about unity, equity, but we have to understand that unity is not uniformity. If you get to be uniform in doing things, it is not really unity because it's like, oh, I'm used to, I'm just used to, I'm just accustomed. It's racism. It's just there. Okay, let me just do what I can do. No. And equity exists as well, but equity is not equality. And I'm going to show a diagram on that. I've shown once that to Madel. Equity is not equality. I just want to go fast. And why this conversation is important is because the Africans or Black Canadians, they constitute one of the fastest growing population. Even though they are minute, they're small, but they are growing fast. And we have to tell the people how to overcome these challenges. As an educator, I'm very careful to make sure that I educate the children. I teach everyone equally. Everyone equally. However, if I had the chance to talk to our parents who are African Canadians or Caribbean Canadians, uh, what listen, they should understand the best strategies by which they have to overcome this aspect of racism. So it's important because there's a lot of disparity. There's a lot of things that we have to know about leadership, about education, about income equity, and social justice. And what is most important as a challenge is that there's a symbolism when it comes to this racism. So I went further to say that we have four pillars. If we want to discuss about equity, we have um, when areas where we know that we are racialized when it comes to income or economic empowerment, and you ask yourself question: what kind of job am I looking for? What kind of things I want to create? But those are not the first question you can ask yourself because you must understand the system. Or educational equity. What about leadership? Like how Madel gave an example that depending on those who are leading you, you can be racialized anyhow. And so just skipping, this is the picture I was saying I'm going to show. And this picture, I grabbed this picture when one of our professors, and I was in New York from France, and I was interpreting her. She was a chair in a last educational conference, and they were talking about equality and equity. Giving everybody equal opportunity does not mean equity. And we have to understand that it does not mean that when we have the same opportunity given to everybody, that is not equity. And looking at these pictures, as we can see, everybody has given the same stand to use to observe. I think it's a hockey, or it's a match, or it's a tournament, or it's a game. But you notice that there are some people, despite what they are being offered, they still have limitation.
This is so powerful. Laughing.
They still have limitation. And if we look at equality, everybody has been given equal opportunity. But equal opportunity does not mean same. So we can be given equal opportunity, but yet we are being racialized.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening. But when you look at equity, it's more or less like depending on what maybe your limitations are, and you're being accorded accordingly to meet up with the certain obligations. You see, I have moved in this country. My dad will tell you I have been in the court for not paying rents. But because I understood the wisdom of God and trying to understand the system, the story changed. And if we do not understand these systemic ways of what is happening, you might remain in the same position for a long time. And so I will move straight because we have a lot of things. So we have in here, we have to give people the opportunity. Though we are one, but we are different.
Please
And
don't
when
rush.
people
We
are
have
different,
time.
it means
Don't rush.
we
We
have
have
time.
time.
Okay, great. Okay, okay. I'm happy. We have time. Okay, I
Yeah,
will slow
this is
down.
powerful. I'm loving the slides, honestly.
Yes,
I
yes,
feel like
yes.
I want to capture all of them before I even capture you've moved it.
Yeah,
So,
Mother, I can always send that. I can always send that to you. But
okay,
listen,
thank you.
I am trying to give a lot of deep secret here
Mhm.
because when you belong to the kingdom of God and you receive the discernment and power from Him, the word declares that the earth belongs to God and the fullness thereof. It means you are not limited wherever you find yourself, even though the racism exists. And that's why we have to get the wisdom on how to get this. Now, I'll give example. I'll pause a little bit. I went somewhere after I got a job, and I was told, you are so lucky to be here. And you know, language is so powerful.
Yeah.
And language is racialized.
Mhm.
You can speak to me, and I will clearly understand if it's a racial comment.
Mm.
And I told the guy, oh no, I'm not lucky to be here. This company is lucky to have me here. And anytime I decide I'm gonna go. Now I was speaking to somebody who is a white Canadian. And I told him, you have come here to stay instead of to train people and empower them to get a job.
Yeah.
You want to colonize and remain in this job. I have not come to stay. I've come to empower
Mm.
and go. And I was speaking in the place of authority because I knew that I have knowledge.
Mm.
And he went further to research me and discover that I'm not just a teacher, but I'm a researcher. And I've published papers, I've discovered bacteria, I've discovered proteins, I've discovered probiotics. And so when I'm teaching, I'm giving experiential knowledge. And I said, when I come here, you guys make an error, I'm going because I have more than 5 jobs every day that have been in my email. Now, though we are different, so what I'm trying to say is that we are one, but we are different, and people are different. And so, if you are not very careful, your difference can be marginalized. And that's why I'm saying that we need to be careful to understand this content of racism and know that you can overcome it. Because you cannot escape it, but you must try to overcome it. And until Lee and I think other group, you had a youth of students, the students that you were guiding and mentoring them. And whenever I meet them, I tell them, guys, you have to be an exception. Because if you are a student, I'm speaking like a teacher. If your friends are having 80, you better have 95. Because you have to understand how to overcome limitation. If your friends are having 65, you better have 80. Because if you both have same, there is a systematized way of bringing you down. And so therefore, the Bible, the scripture says that our God will serve. He knows the end before he begins. So if you know where you are, you must strategize the end and then you begin. So that when you are going, nobody limits you. And that's how we are not limited. Never. So I am happy with CAVIWO's role to empower and to provide equity. And what they are doing, I took my time to write. It's a catalyzation. It's an organization that is empowering people to understand the role to incubate leaders, to advocate for policies, to empower economic, and of course, the economic equity for Black Canadians. And what is the goal? The goal is to shift us from just participating in the country to become owners. To become owners of this country. But it is things have been systematized such that you remain a participant. And sometimes we call it you have been alienated. So you have been aligned in a particular corner where you cannot even excel. But listen, we have to overcome this. And if we have to overcome this, therefore we have to understand what is racism. We have to understand what is racism. He said we have to build inclusive community where we have a response, the repositioning of our educational ability, realigning education with high goal sectors. Of course, again, if you want to go into entrepreneurship, you have to know what you're doing or get financial literacy as Ma Adele and Lily are doing. They're super important. And I call them my financial bulldozers. I cannot be with financial people and I become poor. No way. It's not possible now.
It's not.
It's not possible.
It's an abomination.
And this is the point. If you want to grow in this country as a Black Canadian, you must identify the people you worked with. And that is why I have my prophet, Prophet Sonny. I call him my prophet because he will tell you experience and tell you how to overcome it. So if you don't listen to people who have walked through experience, you experience the racism, and there are many people who are even. I met some Africans who like moi j'ai pas that I'm going out of Canada. I'm going. You see, I want to encourage us something that we have to understand what is racism. When we speak, this topic is so emotional, and we have gone through situations, and we want that we have to be the ones to enact policies. We cannot be speaking about it and you're not changing policies. And this I am proud. So, looking at the historic and how it is being manifested and how do we overcome it, I've given some hints. I'll give you some hints. But listen, it is a system of belief. The system. It is a practice. And it is an institutional structure that assigned a certain value. They give you a certain opportunity. But it is based on power. So I look into it that we have individual racism, like what Ma Adele experienced, what Antili experienced. Those are individual racism. And we all are going to be having individual racism, no matter how you do it. Now, I had an example. I went to buy coffee one day. So when I went to buy that coffee one day, by then, 2022, I just bought my brand new car, Highlander, which is a different story I will explain. As I was driving to buy coffee, one white guy got angry. How am I driving that kind of a car? And so he wants to pass in front of me. I say, Oga, let's respect line now. The guy came and spit on my face.
Oh, no way.
He spit on my face. He said, go back to Africa. In Canada, in Gatineau.
Oh, my God.
Listen, the Bible declares this, that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And by the time I want to go and attack, the Holy Spirit descended to me and told me one thing. That this guy is a white Canadian. He's frustrated. You are also a Black Canadian. But if you go and attack him, when you go to court, the money you make for 1 hour, you will lose those hours. He maybe don't even work him money, and you will be at the problem. So don't even attack him. Just pray for him and go. But however, I understood the power that when you are in this country and you become really wealthy, sometimes you will not be loved.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm saying that we must educate ourselves and get to a point whereby we overcome that situation, because you cannot escape it. The Canadian government is an outstanding government, doing everything it takes to make sure that people are educated, to make equity. But you like it or not, human nature has that racialization stuff, and they are systematized things that sometimes people do it unknowingly or intentionally. And that's how we have individual racism. And we also have, which of course the individual one is discriminatory, even in your workplace. And that is why I said when you get a job, immediately, if all of you get a job, know who you are. Improve your resume immediately. So that by the time they want to say that, oh, they want to fire you now, let me say this. You have the right to request for certain documents why you are fired, like both of you said, or why you are not hired. That's another day. And I speak like this, we have a father here who has fired the government for discrimination. And why? Because he knows and has acquired a legal degree to be able to understand how these things work. We are fortunately talking about racism in a Black African History Month, about to end. You know? So we have institutional racism where it is based on policies. And if you look at the statistics, how many Blacks are hired, you will not understand. But here you are qualified, and you are not even asking question why you are not hired, because you don't know that you have the right to seek and to request those information and the document why you were not hired. And most of us have experienced that. That is why I went to my research, because in my research you understand not less than 70% of immigrants who are of color, they go out of their calling because they are not given opportunity. It's painful. I was to give some statistics, but it is painful. And then you have a structural and systematized racism that interlock the system and reinforce racial inequality across the society. And that is why I'm saying that we have to understand this conversation. Why? Because it is helping to reshape the economy.
Yeah.
What this CAVIWO is doing is reshaping the economy. And I don't know if some people come here just or attend the program and they just go. No, I don't go in a program to attend. This is 2 hours of my life or 3 hours of my life. That's part of my life.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very important. So we are reshaping the social structure. It is a historical, a structural, and it's ongoing. It is going to be still going to be ongoing.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand the procedures have to become transformed. And this again requires awareness. It requires action. But you must be able to identify it, because some people don't even identify it. You want to see it in clarity, but sometimes it comes in very simple ways without you knowing. And you can immediately say that I have been racially discriminated. Like one colleague that said, oh, I've been discriminated of color. But it's not clear. But the way somebody will speak to you, you will know. So, racism is a combination of prejudice. And when somebody shows power over you, and depending on the structure. And that's why, like I said, it can be individually biased or through institution or through systematized inequality. And that's why if I exit with my young people I meet, I give them some great knowledge. But if it is a prejudice or power or structure, it means that we must have people who find themselves in that place of power and structure.
All right.
Which is what you are doing right now. And I don't want to focus on this area, but like you said, the history, and so I don't want to talk on that. I will just skip it because we want to talk about the practicality. For the history, we know how it came, we know all those things. So I will skip that. I will skip that. And so I would just want to say that I want to focus here on immigration exclusions. I showed a diagram there, and sometimes you can come in here as an immigrant, but you are excluded without knowing that it's specialized.
Yeah.
You can be excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very easy, and that is why we have to attend things like this. And there's employment discrimination. I was talking with Uncle Nobet at some point, which of course I don't want to disclose some kind of things, but the rate of discrimination is over even 80%. And we have to know when you apply and you know you are qualified and you're not given that job, how do you proceed? You don't just sit quiet. And that is why we have a father in Nova Scotia. More than 15 years ago, he was discriminated from a job. He fired them, and they are calling him now to come out. He said, "Well, you just pay me all my arrears." Yes. One young man from Babenda, I don't want to call the institution, got a job of recent, hired, everything. And then when he came to beginning the job, they said, "Oh no, you have to go for that training." I have not started a job. I'm going for that training. How come? And then the person said, "Excuse me." The person who has, "Excuse me, you, my boss, I've hired somebody, and because of this color, you say, look, they didn't allow the young man to work for more than 6 months. He fired that you pay him for staying in the house for 6 months. But there are things that if you don't know, you'll be lost. You'll be lost. So, the point is, Made, like you said, how does it manifest itself? So I was saying that it can manifest itself through income limitation. It can manifest itself through limited access to capital or on underrepresentation in certain roles. And of course, wage or wealth gap or some other economic inequality often reflect as historical exclusion. So, and I did mention that again, the manifestation is streamlined by disparity, disappropriation, and the curriculum exclusion and the low expectation bias, which of course is a big deal. So, moving further there, sorry guys, I talk about the system, but I want to go straight to where I will be talking so much tonight. How is racism operates today? That is where I want to land, and then I start proceeding. How does it operate today? Do you know how many people who are going through sometimes traumatic situation because of this operation of this systematized situation? So sometimes it's very, very subtle, like somebody in a very technical way is there. Implicit bias or network exclusion, in Cameroon we say corruption, but here it's a networking. When I moved to Canada, I worked 2 years in the means of agriculture, agro-food, as a volunteer, no job, no salary. Yet with 2 master's degree. And that is where I went out and started working in Burrito in a restaurant where I served most of you. My day, I was serving you burrito. But that was 2 master degree right there. And what happened? You apply for a job and they tell you you're overqualified. And sometimes you apply for a job and you are interviewed right up to the end. They refuse you. But I had no knowledge. I was supposed to have fired those people. I was supposed to have taken it, like, show me the reason why.
Yeah.
So many of us are going through that. So that's why we talk about inequality, opportunity pipeline. And they say modern racism is often less visible, but deeply, deeply structured, extremely structured. So, and to combat this stuff, as an educationist, as a teacher, I focus more on education, as my focus on social aspect there. But combating racism, we have first at the individual level. You know, in my doctoral program, 2024, we publish an edition. In that edition, I sat down with the colleagues, most immigrants as well, and some are Canadians, and I gave my own perspective to how you can survive in Canada, to how you can start. That sometimes you come in here with all the degrees and all the information, you are a doctor, whatever, and you don't have the opportunity to express your greatness. And so, because of this, you have to understand that when you come into the system has their own vision. Every house has its vision. Every family has a vision. You cannot carry the vision of Cameroon and you want to bring in the vision of Canada. It does not work. You cannot carry the vision of South Korea or Europe and bring here. It does not work. They call it Canadian experience. And we are saying this, I'm saying it because many people are trapped in that area of racism, which of course exists, but they don't want to overcome it. Because you come with all these degrees and they tell you that they can't offer you a job. You have doctors who are driving taxis. But I have medical doctors who came to this country and I told them that as you have come, you are overqualified. Now they want you to have somebody who can stand to you to attest that yet you are qualified. Because a vision, and whatever you are doing, say you're working in the bank, say you're a teacher, so whoever, whatever you are doing, they want to make sure that if they empower you with their vision, you can also empower the vision to the followers who are coming, who can also empower to others. So lay no hands suddenly on anyone. It's a scripture. And so, if we do not understand that, to overcome racism, which exists, which I don't think that you will wipe it, you have to understand that. Get the vision of whatever you are. Be in your job place. Like I said, if you get a job, immediately write a new resume because you're fired. Because they're looking for evidence to fire you. And especially if you are not studying in this country, they will tell you that it's because you came with 14 degree. That is why I use the principle of Nelson Mandela. Nobody fires me. I fire them. Now, why? Because you came here with all these degrees and as a qualified teacher, licensed teacher, you came as an immigrant, as a teacher, and I said, God, what do I do? And then I have people that I surround myself with. And I have to go back into teacher's college because we want to submit to authority. To overcome racism means submission to authority. And this, when I went back and submitted to authority and acquired the knowledge, you cannot fire me for the knowledge that you taught me easily. And the same university that I applied more than so many times, they refused me and they said I should go back to high school. That is why many of us here in this country, you come with nice degrees and they refuse to give you admission. Completely. It's a systematized racism. And in that case, I want to plead that when we have our young people who come here, if you have a degree, just blend it with something. And then now it pushes you higher. And that is why the same university that refused to offer me a degree program and did other things was the same university that offered me a $78,000 scholarship for a PhD and also scholarship in master's degree. But what I'm saying is that it is hidden in the system and it can be in the individual level. It exists. Speak about it. If you now, I don't want to go into because Ma has spoken a lot, so I'm giving now ways to overcome it. To overcome it. If we don't fight it, if we don't strategize it, let me say this. 4 months ago, I wrote on the board the population of the world, and I put there was 8 billion 255 million 577,000 people. When I check today, is approximately 2.3, 8.3 billion. So it has increased by almost, I don't know. And the more the people, they are going to where? Many people move into. So you have a continuous competition, and this is going to be affecting us. So we have to start thinking how to fight this, how to rise above it. That is why no matter where I find myself, even like where I work, everybody has to respect me because I know that if you don't go above a little bit, you are going to be racialized. You will. You will. You will. So it is really self-examination of bias. If you know you'll be biased, start thinking how to overcome it. Because the reason I'm saying it because I know it's there. I don't want to focus on. I'm focused on how to free yourself from it. That's why I said my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And change begins from awareness. Change begins from awareness.
Yeah.
And awareness is submission to authority. And the best authority is the Holy Spirit. That will give you the spirit of discernment. You know, when you submit to authority and so Nelson Mandela says that use the knowledge of the oppressor to overcome the oppressor. If you don't use it, you'll be oppressed continuously. Because by the time you're using that knowledge, he has no excuse to the knowledge that he gave to you. And that is why I know that I'm one of the fastest growing teachers in Canada in my generation.
No.
I'm not debating it. I'm not, because I built it in a way. I know that I'm going to be racialized. And because I know, I look for where they cannot compete and I overcome it. And then when I enter, now if you want to speak, I say, okay, let's bring area of competition. I'm begging. See, 10 years from now, we are crying racism is going to be doubled. Nobody knew that's going to happen to America. You know why?
Yeah.
Because if I send 20 people in Made house now, Made, you cannot feed those 20 people now like immediately. You know why? Because there are so many immediately. If I say 100, it can collapse now. So we call it carrying capacity. So whatever has happened to America is a carrying capacity. So sometimes, and I've spoken this, so we have to be careful that that's why the population of Cameroon, how many years ago, doubled. And take 10 years from now. And even right here, I tell, the house prices will double. And so, even buying can be racialized. And the only thing that can free us is when they see paper. When they see, I sent my wife to take a car someday. And the way they spoke to her, I know they racialized her. They told her that you are not qualified to have this kind of a car. And she said, my husband sent me. And they said, who is your husband? And then they said, take his email. And when I sent a document, then they said, sorry, ma, whatever you need, we'll give to you. Do you know how many people are being racialized every day in this country? So as an educationist, I'm just saying that if you want to overcome racism, it is not about going a lot in school, but it's just to make sure that when you get anywhere, even if you are doing business, know how you can be an exceptional.
Yeah.
Because we cannot escape it. Be aware, but know how to overcome it. Like and the wisdom to overcome it is also knowing the information. If Mama Lily did not know the information, she would just go home and then have trauma.
Yeah.
but she knew. And so she knew how to overcome it. Awareness. You see? So we have to be really, really careful because um, to combat racism is very hard. Sincerely speaking, there are many policies. There's no transparency in hiring. We have to look for data before you even begin any stuff. There are a couple of things I may discuss, but I want us to know that when I talk about curriculum reform or curriculum information, it's not only school, it's anything you want to do. Think about it. God will never begin something without knowing the end.
Yeah.
If you know that you're going to have obstructions in the path immediately, you have to design how what to do. And that is you can check into a curriculum system that fits you, that will avoid you in certain things that may have obstructions in your life. And this is also a form of perseverance. So, Mad, I don't know, maybe I'm taking too much time, but I will try to skip. So, combating racism in the economic way, I want us to know that it is how do we access capital, and we have people here in the platform who have financial experts. Please let us learn from them. Let us ask questions. Let us understand what kind of things can you do that can help you overcome this situation about racism and connect to good leaders, or maybe being able to understand that economic equity weakens structural inequalities. And so, um, skipping to probably here, as far as myself, I'm concerned in my educational studies, I'm focused on culture in sciences. And the reason why I'm focused on culture and science is because I know many immigrants who are unable to get into admissions because of systematized racialization, and you are ignored that okay, your degree that you had is nothing. Go and do another degree. That you don't value the relevance of that culture. And so people are, and so you are in the classroom, you are teaching, and there is some form of, yeah, and you know and sometimes you don't know what directions or courses that even to guide the child in academics. So that's our focus on cultural relevant pedagogy. Why? Because I'm looking at how do we maximize, how do we optimize, how do we give equal opportunity to people, not failing somebody because of his background. So that is why I'm working in that direction. But in the reality, I'm just trying to say that there is racism. But I know that sometimes it may not be intentional. But hoping that we can be able to work hard to overcome it in the individual basis and as a team. Because it's a problem and we want to focus only on that problem, you may end up being that problem without knowing how to overcome the problem. And so the goal is giving strategies to overcome it, compacting it. And I speak a lot about education.
Yeah.
Because through education, it's not about going to a very big book, no. It's do not just do whatever you are doing without seeking the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Many people do things just because they see other people doing it, and they climb on the bed and they cannot sleep for maybe 4 hours, only to realize that you did the wrong thing. And then you cannot be effective even in your workplace, and then you start seeing comments that can become racialized. So the goal, therefore, is, like I said, it exists, but let's use strategic wisdom of God. Because this is my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And there is, when we teach, there is a word knowledge, and then there's a word understanding. Because general knowledge is You're having general knowledge. The point is, do you understand the knowledge? And then after understanding the knowledge, now, can you apply the knowledge? And if we are unable to really unable to apply it, then now we can become limited and we are cut off in that area where we cannot be expertise. Yes, we have to speak it, and yes, we have to strategize to overcome it. So that we are not limited. We are supposed to be inclusive. We are supposed to be not in that three-quarter. That's why you have three-quarter of these racialized people are in that three-quarter quadrant, where either you're excluded, you're exclusive, you know, either intentional or unintentional. And so I just want to say that action is needed. My goal here is awareness. My goal is, let's say that it exists, but please have knowledge and let's be accountable to see how we can overcome it. And knowing that you're going to have it, take action before it happens. Take action before it happens. You know? And we can structure change. If we remain silent, then we are sustaining the system. So that is what the speaking comes in. You talk about it, but make sure that we are talking about it. So we strategize method to overcome it while still talking about it. Because if we don't do that, then we are going to have limitation. And so when we, like what Made and all of us, all this group is doing, is transforming. And that's where equity is coming in play, because different people have different information that will give them the balance they want to get to see further. Because if you just come, all of us are come to Canada, we are equal. But how far do you see? The Bible says, how far can you see? How far? How far you can see depends on the knowledge you get. Because it takes the wisdom of God. There are so many of us are limited because it is existing, but how do you overcome it? That's why we need mentorship. We need mentorship. We need strategic approach to fight this situation. So is there like maybe our sister who came in and have challenges, or maybe you're just moving to the system because you're going to get everything. This country has very, very, very high standard, highly qualified people.
Yeah.
And if you're coming to compete, and you don't compete to the power of the Holy Spirit who give you discernment, you're gonna swim. That's the simple truth. And that is the point. And why is it happening? Because the world population is increasing all the time. And because it's increasing all the time, it's only those who really lift up their eyes onto the hills from where cometh the help. That gives you the power to discern. It will give you clarity. You end up doing a degree, and 4 years you pay government loan, and it's a wrong thing. So my hope is that in as far as this stuff exists, we have to start talking that it exists and looking at the methods to overcome this. I will give personal experience, and maybe some people will talk. Maybe I will go to that diagram and let us share some experience. You have been racialized. I gave an experience how somebody spit on my face in this country. On my face. A whole pastor like me. Pwah! I gave an when my wife was pregnant, she said, Tata, this car is small. How can we get a new car? I said, don't worry. So when I called the company, the Toyota company, that's a different experience from the one that I sent her before that was Mazda. When I called the company, they told me that we cannot, from my accent, they said, we cannot, are you a Canadian? We cannot, because we don't give cars for people who are not Canadians. I just asked the woman that, can I get your email? When I sent the documents she saw is not about my color, because about my color I'm disqualified. Is the qualification. And then she started apologizing. As I told her that how long can I take? He said 12 months. I said no, I give you 5 months. Now I was commanding her. So these things exist, but to overcome them, you must know the area of your expert. Maximize it. And that is why the Bible says, if you have your gift, that is a gift that will set you free. Know who you are. Don't rush because people are getting what they want to get. Ask God first. So when I went through all of this experience, I've come to realize that no matter how you do it, it's still going to be there. So we have to see how we can overcome it. We have to see how we can overcome it. We have to help one another. And that's why me as a teacher, I talk about academics, I talk about education, I talk about all those things most of the time. So I experienced that stuff, and experience. There are many that you experience. But when all of these things happen, now I've come to the point now whereby you don't. So I fire you. I fire you. My advice: life is not a chance, and life is not a game. Because sometimes if we focus on that, it's gonna be like a game. But CAVIWO, I am so proud of what you guys are doing. I'm part of you. And I know that everybody have an expert. And my own expert is giving you the secret of greatness. Because if we don't have this knowledge, money will be passing ahead of us like this. Some people think that, oh, pastor, you like money. What's the problem? I don't like money. It's just that I want to preach the word of God with ease. And so if I am racialized, I will not be able to function well. Yeah. And that's why I'm proud that in this country, from nothing to being among the top 10% highest paid people, I'm proud. And it's because I was able to listen to people who gave me advice. Mardel, I will never forget. Mardel is my schoolmate in China University, but I met Uncle Sonny and he schooled me. They schooled me that if you do not sacrifice, if you want to overcome racism, you must be ready to sacrifice. And when you sacrifice a certain level, nobody can. It will exist, but when you pass through, the Bible says you pass through fire, but you cannot be consumed. And that is why there, when I was signing the insurance, that life insurance, where we stood me and you, the person who owned that business place, I parked in his place. And when he came, he saw me. He said, "No, sorry, I cannot disown you, displace you. I'm sorry. I have to respect you. What I'm seeing you have, I have to respect you." I said, "Yes, you have to respect me." But that was a white. So that is my own contribution. Um, Now I think I'm not sure if sorry guys, I'm a teacher. Teachers talk a lot, even though.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we have 12
Yeah.
minutes. So we're gonna
So
have to
I'm
be
done.
quiet
I'm
also.
done. I just want to say that thank you so very much. I
Mhm.
appreciate, and let's keep on. And this is a great fight. And happy Black Africa Week month. And let us use this opportunity to educate ourselves and overcome limitation. God bless you all.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Do I stop this stuff again?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
What a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to give Nafisatu a few minutes to just summarize as short as you can,
Okay.
because if you
Hello?
have questions, can you stop sharing? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop it. Okay, let me see here.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Nafisatu, so that if we have questions, please you just raise your hand and then I will go in that order. Go ahead,
Thank,
Nafisatu.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Je vais essayer de le faire le plus rapidement possible. Merci beaucoup, Pasteur Adolphe. Il a commencé par donner une phrase très puissante. Il a dit que lorsque vous entrez dans un travail, sachez que vous êtes déjà viré. Et qu'est-ce qu'il voulait dire par là? C'est que dès que vous commencez à travailler quelque part, rassurez-vous de toujours construire votre crédibilité, de préparer votre CV pour que vous ne dépendiez pas à 100% de cet emploi, mais vous prenez ça là comme une opportunité pour aller à un autre niveau. Il a expliqué que le racisme est partout dans plusieurs pays, c'est pas seulement au Canada, mais ce que nous pouvons faire pour le vaincre, c'est de vraiment connaître qui nous sommes en tant qu'enfant de Dieu et de grandir dans notre connaissance. Et lorsqu'il a présenté le diagramme, il a pris le temps de comprendre que c'est tout un système qui travaille. Et pour cela, il faudrait que vous compreniez le système et que vous soyez aussi capable de pouvoir prendre avantage de ce système. Il a parlé de l'exclusion complète, l'exclusion invisible, qui passe par une éducation standard qui est la pire, une éducation authentique qui est limitée et une éducation démocratique qui est soutenable ou durable qui est la voie vers l'équité. L'unité, ce n'est pas l'uniformité, parce que on peut mettre la même opportunité à plusieurs personnes, mais ils n'arrivent pas à atteindre le but. Pourquoi? Parce que la vraie équité doit tenir en compte mes limitations pour que ce que je reçois puisse me donner accès à ce que les autres ont. On a parlé des 4 piliers de l'équité: le renforcement économique, l'équité éducationnelle, la responsabilité civique et le leadership et l'identité culturelle. Et ensuite, nous avons parlé des différences entre l'équité et l'inégalité. Je ne vais pas m'atteler sur cela. On a parlé de CAVIWO comme une organisation de catalystes qui permet de quitter de la participation à l'appropriation. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il faut réaligner le système éducationnel dans tous les secteurs pour atteindre les hauts objectifs. L'entrepreneuriat est encouragé, s'associer aussi avec les bonnes personnes. Il a parlé de l'histoire du racisme, je vais passer ça à cause du temps. On a parlé des différents éléments, mais sur le combat, je vais m'attendre sur cela, sur le combat, parce qu'on a vu que le mode opératoire aujourd'hui, il est subtil, il est implicite, il est dans les réseaux. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire? On a 3 niveaux. Niveau individuel, ça passe par l'éducation, l'évaluation, les alliances et surtout la sensibilisation. Niveau structurel, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? On doit revoir les polices, revoir les pratiques de recrutement, revoir les réformes en force dans les structures et revoir aussi l'accès au capital. Niveau éducationnel, c'est très important que nous puissions être informés, que les enseignants puissent être ouverts à la multiculturalité et aussi à des partenariats dans les communautés. Enfin, nous pouvons dire, en conclusion, ce qu'on peut dire, c'est quoi? Vous devez prendre action à l'avance. Vous devez prendre conscience de comment le système fonctionne et de pouvoir le reconnaître et de pouvoir prendre action. Nous parlons aussi d'un changement structurel et aussi, souvenez-vous que lorsque vous êtes silencieux, vous encouragez ce système de racisme et l'unité peut nous permettre de transformer cela. En conclusion, la vie est intentionnelle et nous devons être prêtes à sacrifier pour atteindre notre but. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Nafi. Ah, oh my, she got it. Oh my God. She got us so much. She got us so much. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ça, c'est un travail formidable. Okay, now we're gonna see whether we can take a few questions. And if you have a question, please just indicate with a hand show. But there were quite a lot of things that I picked from what Pastor Adolph was talking about. And just like Lily, there was this thing that came up about the fact that we have to know who we are, and then we have to know our rights. We have to know our rights. Like if I'm leaving from here with one thing, is the fact that we're being reminded of the fact that we need to read the fine prints on everything. Many of us Africans don't like to read. Many of us don't like reading. So we just quickly sign stuff without really reading, but we're doing that against us. So we're fighting against our very own selves. So it's always good to read the fine print, especially when you're signing a job. It's your life you're signing there. So make sure you read everything that is in it and ask for that. Another thing that I learned tonight, which is a reminder for me, is if you are refused, and I learned that yesterday I was attending a workshop that also said that, in that workshop, that you have to ask for a debrief. Say, why was I rejected? You want to know why you were rejected so that next time you can work harder. If there's something you're doing wrong, so that you can fix that thing. Because if you don't ask for a debrief, you will keep failing. So if they deny you, ask, why was I refused? For this, you have the right to ask that, and they owe it to you to give you an explanation for that. So let's not be naive, or there's something that happens in our own community is fear. We allow fear to stop us from so many things. Look like the stories that we were talking about. If you're not courageous enough, a director, in my case, it was a director, was not even a manager, because we didn't have a manager at that time. A manager had been fired. Then the acting manager was on sick leave. So it was the director that did what she did to me. But I was courageous enough to say, no, I'm not going to settle for this. And I could have easily said that after I just have a few weeks to leave this job. But I'm like, if I don't do it, every other person, a black person, will suffer this, because I hear from them at the job site. They say a lot of things about the discrimination that they encounter. This, and we just talk about it to ourselves, and we say, this is so wicked, this is so mean, and we just stay and we do nothing about it. And I was like, if I don't do this, somebody will go through this again. So I'm like, no, no, no. For the sake of others who will come after me, I must stand up. I was like, I sent a message, do you have a moment? I need to see you. I carried my laptop there. So we need to be courageous enough to speak up. And if they give you a name that is not you, say no. Say no, that's not who I am. That's how we will fight that. Like what Kayla said, that somebody made a racist comment, and even the person that the comment was made at laughed. Because sometimes we don't want to talk, and we make a joke of it as if it is a joke. It's not a joke. And then we go home and we're sick and we start talking about it, that this person was actually racist. And you notice it at that time, but you didn't speak up. You just take it. That's why we'll keep suffering. So those are some of the things that we learned tonight, and we're being reminded of them tonight, that you need to be courageous enough, be bold enough, and stand up for yourself. Because if we don't do that, we will suffer here, and even still suffer in our own countries. Because guess what? A lot of the things that are happening in Africa is because they're coming to steal oil. They're coming to steal the resources from there, and then they come and bring the confusion in those countries, and then there is so much war, and then some of us begin to run to come this way, where we're looking for peace. Whereas if our countries were just allowed to be them, the enough resources, the natural resources that we have in our own countries, would have been enough for everybody to just stay where they are without coming here. But even when we are there, and then these people come back to where we are, they are, we see, have you ever seen the way they look at a white man back home? It's like a god. Can you imagine? If you ever seen, even when you are traveling at an airport, the white man can carry drug and pass. They can carry guns and pass, but they will search you, your own very people, your own very people. The way they will treat you, and then you see the white man just passes right in front of you, and they just give him as if they are God. And then we suffer in our own country. We come here, we still suffer here. No, we have to stand up. We have to stand up. I'm telling you, I've seen it so many times. You see the way I don't want to call it worship, but it's like worship that they give to them back in our own countries. And then we come here, we don't get that though. So where else can we find the happiness? Where else can we be free? Because even in our home countries, we're not free. So we just have to learn to speak up for ourselves and stand up for ourselves as human beings. Because if you take yourself as less of a human being because of the color of your skin, you would suffer a lot, and that's how you're going to live your life. So let nobody deceive you that the color of your skin makes you less of a human being. No. So yeah, Lily, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam. Pastor Adolf, that was amazing. Thank you. You spoke from the perspective of a teacher, but that's what we need, right? We need difference to be able to put things together. So I just wanted to make something, because Pastor Adolf talked about structural change and a sustainable system. I want to share this experience because when we were in Belgium, when we came as immigrants, that's one of the times I told my husband, if this is what we call falling bush, please let's go back to Cameroon, because I'm not ready for this kind of suffering.
Yes.
Right from there, I started rebuking the kind. I said, this is not life. This is slavery in another dimension. We could not work in any office. My husband went for an interview and he was told, we don't give this position to Black people. You're more than qualified, but we don't employ Black people. In fact, long story short, we could only clean people's homes or work in the farm. That is what we were relegated to. But guess what? The beauty is that there is always a silver lining on the cloud, but sometimes we don't focus. I love Cameroonians for this. Our parents raised us to value education, and that is what Pastor Adolf has been talking about.
Yeah.
If you're an immigrant in this country and you don't want to improve on yourself, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
Guess what happens? 90%, if not 100% of most of the immigrants got master's degree. My husband actually had 2 master's degrees. The poor man had to be studying just to keep his papers alive. And that's the system of Europe for those of us that have lived there.
Yeah.
But guess what? When the Canadian door opened, everybody flocked out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a wake-up call for the Belgian government.
Yeah.
And now they started giving people papers. So there is always a weakness somewhere in the system that we can take note of and we can take advantage of it. But if we are not paying attention, if we are not improving ourselves, if we are not inserting ourselves in these offices, we're never going to be aware of these opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you're speaking from a lived experience, if you did not challenge yourself, one thing I find is that we're so comfortable.
Yeah.
When we left Belgium to come to Canada, there is a neighborhood in Montreal. That is where every Cameroonian is like these birds that fly during the summer, and then they just go and land somewhere in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
People just came and landed in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my husband, and I'm like, if this is where you plan for us to stay, then you and I are going to have a problem. I said, I did not carry my bag to come and sit in a community where I will say, I beg for Maggie, I beg for salt, I beg for pepper. This is not the plan I have for my life. So we had to go rent a house 30 minutes away from that place. And because we were isolated, we could think. We could think for ourselves. We could make decisions on our own. We had to choose when to attend an occasion and when not to attend that occasion, because every weekend there was something.
Yeah.
So you need to be willing to make that sacrifice. And when my husband chose to foster his education, when he started, he said, listen, madam, you're not going to sit in the house and just be taking care of children. You're the one that told me to take the big step. I've taken it. You're next. It was tears. I mean, we were crying every day. It was strenuous. And I don't even want to talk about the experience when I had to leave my children to go walk up in the north. But the freedom I'm enjoying today is because I made that sacrifice. So if you're afraid to make the sacrifice, you want to just sit and be comfortable and be taking these racial situations, that's your decision. We are not going to force you. But we're telling you that there are people in the community today that can help you. Pastor Adolf is one person that I have a lot of respect for. I call him my community champion. He's always available to support. If not you, your children. Let us make it a habit to reach out, to ask for help. Don't come here and then like I saw people come with master's degree and then come and be working in the call center. Whereas there are government jobs in government offices, and you were brought here as a skilled immigrant to come and get a skilled job. But because we left the farm to come and sit in an office and be answering telephone call, for us, that was an upgrade. And opportunities passed us by. So please let us challenge ourselves to think better and to know that we deserve better. As children of God, we cannot relegate our mindset. It's enough. And then people are coming and flocking in, and then they're just towing the line, and then it doesn't work like that. We can do better.
We can.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much. Our time is up. Wow, the 2 hours just went by like real quick. And we saw, oh my God, we had great speakers tonight. It was something wonderful. We want to appreciate everybody for staying here until the end. A lot of people are still here. There was a survey that was put in. I don't know if people took note. There's a survey that was thrown in the chat. So please do well to complete the survey. Do well to complete that survey. We appreciate your time of being here. The last event that we have for this multicultural and anti-racism program is on Saturday, but that is an in-person event. So if you are around the Ottawa community, you can join us. You can go to our website. There is the QR code there. You need to scan and register because we are almost fully booked. I think we just have a few more spaces, but this year we are almost fully booked for the hall. But if you're coming and you've not registered, please do well to register, because we actually have quite a lot of people coming this time for the event. It's almost sold out. So we do require that everybody registers for that event in order for us to accommodate the people. So we're grateful for everybody's effort being here. You invited some people, are watching, a couple of people from one home and all of that. We appreciate your time with us.